as the obvious, my subject is about classroom management. And I myself, as an experienced teacher, I always thought that there is one question in my mind, and I always thought about it. And that was question that who is the most successful teacher in the world? And after some searching, I could easily understand that. I totally understood that the most successful person, the most successful teacher is a person who says that achievements or students are working together as if I didn't exist. And this is a matter of classroom management. It means that this is the most important part of the teaching. And as it obvious, my subject is about classroom management. Sarah, could you please? So, first of all, these are my aims. To clarify a precise meaning of classroom management, to make innovative approaches of having an ideal classroom, get acquainted with classroom instabilities and their solutions, to motivate the students, enhance the realization of city enrichment's importance of classroom management, getting familiar with beneficial websites about teaching skills. These are all the things that we are going to go through with each other, and we are going to analyze that what are these things are. So, Sarah? So guys, until I just read that, tell me, what is classroom management? How do you define classroom management? Could you please answer? No answers? Sir, could you please tell me what is classroom management as an experienced teacher that you know?
Yeah, the first one is being serious, not that much, but being serious is very important. You know, as I told you every time, I always say, being a pedagogue is very important. You know, you yourself should understand that you want to teach something, it's really important, it's precious, and you want your students to have your full their attention, and that's it. It's the best step, not all, but it's the best step.
Thank you very much. Any answers? No? Okay, let's go. What is classroom management, or what the classroom management is? Classroom management refers to the wide variety of skills that most of the teachers use in order to keep a students focused, organized, and attentive on the task. In other words, an ideal classroom management will maximize the behaviors which improve a student's learning by minimizing the behaviors which prevent learning, whether for the individual student or for large groups of students, no matter how many students that you have. As you can see, I categorize different interpretations or definitions of the classroom management into 5 parts. The first one is compliance. Compliance are many techniques that most of the teachers use in order to make sure that the students are following directions, listening attentively, speaking appropriately. We call that compliance. We've got here behavior. Behaviors, everything that teachers do in order to improve a student's learning, we call it behavior, like happy facial expressions, encouragement, or encouragement, respectful and fair treatment of the students. These are all refers to the behavior. We've got the environment. For example, a welcoming classroom would fill with many stimulating materials, which is organized to support many activities. We call that environment, okay, like desk, tables, everything that change the atmosphere of one place to the classroom, we call that environment. We've got expectations. Guys, as it obvious by the name of that, expectations are the quality of work that you expect your students to produce, are the behaviors that you expect your students to show in a classroom, are the agreements that you are just make between yourself and your students, we call that expectations. We've got materials. Guys, be careful. Materials are not vastly different from the environment, are the part of the environment. What do I mean that? Materials can be a type of text, can be equipment, can be a, can be a VR, headphone, whatever you are just bringing into the classroom in order to make your classroom much more engaging. The activities of that, okay? We call that materials. And what are the activities? Activities are all the things that you are just doing in order to engage the students' interest, passion, and curiosity about the relevant subject that you are going to teach. We call that activities. So, and lack of information about teaching techniques. Many misbehaviors that you yourself as a teacher or your students show in a classroom. Uninteresting environmental materials, giving you unclear expectation with a poorly designed activities, are all gathered together in order to make your classroom exhausting enough, in which resulted in a lack of knowledge that you have about classroom management. Did you understand? Yes? Yes. Any question? No? Okay, let's continue.
Sorry, just to interrupt.
Yes.
I'm going to point something very battery TTC. هدلاین‌ها و تیترها رو خیلی دقت کنن و توضیحات رو دقیقاً همینا رو پیشرفت‌تر توی TTC کوکیتون خواهید داشت. حواستون باشه یا تک نوت کنید. همینا رو خواهید دید با همینا مواجه خواهید شد. Yes, please.
Now, classroom technique. As I mentioned that compliance means many techniques that most of the teachers use. Now we are going to analyze that what are those techniques are. I just wanted to summarize the most important techniques into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. The first one is entry routine. Entry routine is a technique that you are just do from the first session until the end of the final. As soon as you enter to the classroom, we call that entry routine, okay? And then, for example, it can be doing a brief warm-up activity, it can be passing any homework, or many other things that you are just do as a routine, we call that entry routine. The second one, it is about do it now. Do it now is an activity, is a reading activity. You know, so many teachers, as soon as they are just enter to the classroom, they face chaos. Some of them are talking, another one is speaking, 12 of them are fighting. So, what else the teachers can do? They can use do it now activity. They can instruct the teachers to take out a sheet of paper and try to talking about the feeling that they have in that moment. Or even, you can just relate it to the relevant subject that you are going to teach during the classroom, okay? But what are the advantages to the classroom management? Look at here, guys. Every people in different walks of life, whenever they just want to write something, they need to think. And this is true for students too. Whenever they want to write something, they need to think. So there isn't any time for speaking, for talking, for shouting, or even for fighting. Did you understand? Yeah? So, what about the third one? This is a favorite technique of mine, prompt. Prompt is a technique of praising the students whenever they do something good, like answering a tough question or, I don't know, helping their peers. And the teachers can praise them by a short movement like give me a high five or a short spoken phrase like thank you, that was great, or many other things. But the reason that I love this technique is that I myself as a student, by the assistance of this technique, I just try to establish a regular program and study for myself. What do I mean? For example, imagine that I just sit down in one class as a student. And suddenly the teacher asks me, ask all of the class, guys, what is the preposition of apologize? Suddenly I say teacher 2. If the teacher reacts me well, then in that time, not only it just motivates me in order to study more and more and improve my self-study, but also the entire classroom because they see the reaction of the teacher, so they have a desire in order to be on my shoes. So, that's the fourth one, I think. The fourth one, it is about non-verbal intervention. Non-verbal intervention is a technique of warning a student by an eye contact or making some gestures, okay? For example, there's an activity that I always do in my classroom. Whenever the students are just trying to shout or, I don't know, break the rules of the classroom. So what does I do? I just try to count until 3. I'm going to count until 3, look at here. But not the speaking, I'm going to just count by body language. Okay? And they're going to understand, and after that, they see and, I don't know, warn each other that look at the teacher, she's counting until 3. And after 3, they know that they are going to give one negative, I mean all the classroom. All the students in that classroom. Yeah? So, lighting bridge public correction. Lighting bridge public correction is a quick reminder which reminds the students what to do instead of what not to do. Okay? For example, the student can just stick some posters on the walls about the rules of the classroom. So, whenever the students are just trying to speak Farsi or break the rules of the classroom, okay, no matter. They are going to show that poster and the students will remind themselves that, for example, in that poster write that speak English, don't speak Farsi. They are going to speak Farsi, the teacher will show that poster, and they are going to be quiet because they remind themselves that this is a rule of the classroom. Okay? So, these are the techniques that you can just use in a classroom in order to manage your classroom. Any ideas? Any techniques? No? Okay. Let's go to the third. Yes. Guys, one question. Have you ever faced many challenging behaviors in your classroom that it was quite difficult to deal with it? Actually, you sir, could you please tell me, have you ever faced some challenging behaviors?
Me?
Mesela. Sorry. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you well. Could you say that again?
Okay. Have you ever faced some challenging behaviors behaviors in your classroom?
Yeah, once one of my students stood up and said bad words to another one, and it was kind of hard for me to control.
And how did you respond?
I just talked to them.
Thank you very much. Okay, name misbehaviors. Okay, classroom incivilities or classroom misbehaviors. All of us, as teachers, we are going to face some challenging behaviors in our classroom. Now we are going to analyze that how many challenging behaviors do we have in our classroom and what are the consequences of it. The first one is the chatterbox. The chatterbox are those talkative students that they always talk. Talking is good, especially in English, but it has an appropriate situation. When a lesson is being taught, or whenever you are just trying to teach something, if the student is just still talking, then in that time it's going to be really disrespectful, whether for the teacher or for other students. What else can we do? I highly recommend you that please guys don't order them to stop. Don't order them to stop because you only just try to make a resentment between yourself and your students, and you are going to destroy the rapport. Rapport, it means that the relationship between teacher and the students, okay? But you can just, for example, you can just try to teach something. For example, I'm just trying to teach grammar. But suddenly I notice two of them there are still talking. Okay, no matter. I'm going to stand on the corner of the classroom, fold my hand, I stop until they stop. They are going to understand your mistake and they are going to be sorry about it. Okay? So, the second one, it is about the alpha. The alpha are those students who don't cooperate in any way. These can turn out to such an intractable problem, especially for the young teachers. Recently I got a term which consists of 11 students. These students are as young as me or even older than me. As soon as they understand that I'm young, and as soon as they understand that I'm their teacher, they turn out to such an alpha. They didn't cooperate in any way. And despite the fact that I just try to bring some activities, some engaging games, but it doesn't work. What else I did? I said that, okay, look at here, this is your responsibility. If you're just doing that, these are the results. You're going to be positive the same as other students. But if you don't do that, these are the consequences. You are going to give negative. 3 negatives kicking you out of the class. Maybe you are going to have a talk with manager. Okay, no matter. I'm going to let you to come into my class. But at the end of the term, I'm going to promise that I'm going to fail you. Did you understand that? Just try to show or clarify the consequences of not studying. The third one, the argumentatives. Argumentatives, for example, if you are just always face some challenging behaviors, that they are just always trying to insist on one repetitive thing. For example, in lower levels they are going to say teacher game, and in higher levels teacher discussion, and discussion. Then in that time I have to just tell that you are struggling with a bunch of argumentatives. What else can you do in a response of argumentatives? You are going to keep calm and warm. Imagine that there's a student here and said to me, and told me, that's what, teacher, sorry. Teacher, look at here. Teacher, I'm not in a mood of presentation. Let's have a game. And I said, okay, look at here. This is the time of presentation. After presentation, maybe we are going to have a game. But look what I said, maybe. Why? Because I'm the manager of my classroom and I have to take the plunge what to do in a second step. Okay, use this technique with caution. The fourth one, it is about the brooder. The brooder is exactly me. I'm a brooder kind of a student actually. Sometimes I'm deliriously happy, sometimes I'm desperately sad. Sometimes I'm the smartest student in the classroom, sometimes I'm the laziest student in the classroom. So what else can we do in response to these students? There are 4 reactions that I've got from the teachers. Sorry. I'm gonna break it down for you, I'm gonna explain it, but you have to judge which of them is much more effective. So, listen carefully guys. The first one, ignorance. Okay, today Fatama is unhappy, none of my business. There are other students that they are going to engage and I'm going to teach. The second one, asking for a reason. Fatama, are you okay? Fatama, what happened? Fatama, why are you like that? Fatama, is there any reason that you are sad? Or many other things. The third one, activate me. Okay, today Fatama is unhappy. Okay, let's have a game. Fatama, what do you think of having a diet? And for example, Fatama, help your peer. Fatama, come to the board and write something. They are just trying to activate me in order to change my mood. And the fourth one, Fatama, go out and wash your face. Do you think which of them is much more effective, guys?
Third one.
What was the third one and what?
It was to activate this compliments because activate you because you're sad, because you're unhappy. Somehow, if just make her do something. I think it will make her happy.
Thank you. What about asking for a reason?
But in some cases, it makes trouble. For example, in the class, you have lots of students, and if they look that you pay more attention about just for one student, they couldn't understand. So, for example, you pay attention about her, maybe she will be sad or not. But they will feel this one that you pay more attention about one student, and has bad feeling for them. I mean, maybe.
Always because that's your certain class. Because first of all, you should know their individual characteristics of each student. And you know that, first you can guess that maybe it makes her much more angrier. So you should always give an answer.
Thank you. Are you agree? Yep. Yes? What are the consequences of challenging behaviors? Of course, it has many consequences. Whenever the students just try to show many challenging behaviors in the classroom, it has many results. The first one is distracting others. The second one, shatter others' motivation. Minimize fairness in grades, increase irrespective behavior, and wasting time. These are the consequences of many challenging behaviors, okay? So, let's get down to it. Sarah. Possible causes of misbehaviors. Guys, look at here. We analyze different challenging behaviors. We are just saying that what are the consequences of it. Now we are going to understand that what are the possible causes of misbehaviors. Okay? Now, it is here. So, the possible causes or the reasons of these challenging behaviors divided into two parts. The first one is contingent on individual student situation, such as health problems, personal or family problems, adjustment or development issues, general academic difficulties. Generally, are the things that just happen, are the problems that just happen outside of the classroom for a student, and because it has a destructive influence on their mind, they are going to bring it to the classroom. So it is beyond our control. Okay, what else can we do? The solutions. Use the power of proximity, contact parents or report problems, counseling, and psychological services. These are the solutions that you can just do for the personal problems of the students. The second one is about structural to the course. Misbehaviors of the structure, lack of enjoyment in teaching, unclear instructions, and jejune class. Jejune class, it means that boring class. Okay, look at here, guys. Love is the principal part of the teaching. If you are just love your career, if you are just trying to show your intense devotion to your students and to the subject that you are going to teach, then in that time, I promise, I assure you, that the half of misbehaviors that you are going to face in the classroom would vanish into the thin air. It disappear easily. Okay? So just try to love your job, avoid negative comments, and add enjoyment professionally. Any question? No? Okay. So let's go to the next slide. Motivation. Let's go to the favorite part of mine, motivation. So, we've got two types of motivation, if we just read. We've got two types of motivation. Mobina, could you please read that?
Intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation.
And could you please read the explanation?
For intrinsic motivation, we have fascination of the subject and sense of accomplishment. For extrinsic motivation, we have earning potential of course of study and parental expectation.
Thank you very much. As you all know that motivation divided into two types. One of them is extrinsic and one of them is intrinsic. I don't want to explain it for you, but I'm going to make you a simple example. Look at here, I study English, okay? Then I'm a student. Suddenly my father told me that, Fatima, if you're just studying English well, if you're just giving 100 at the end of each term, then in that time I'm going to buy you a car. So, this is an extrinsic motivation that I have. It means that I just try to be motivated extrinsically, in which causes me to study more and more and reach that car. But, on the other hand, I told myself, look at here, Fatima, if you're just a study well, then in that time you're going to be successful. The first step of being successful is learning English. Then in that time you're going to know lots of jobs and you can just do lots of jobs. Then in that time you're going to earn lots of money and go and buy your favorite car by your own money. So this is an intrinsic motivation that I have. I'm gonna be motivated intrinsically, in which causes me to study more and more and buy that car by my own money. This is an intrinsic motivation. Next slide. Thank you very much. So, effects of motivation on learning style. Look at here, guys. We've got different kind of learning styles. Okay, for example, tactile learning style, or I don't know, auditory learning styles. All of these students are just have some specific learning styles. Based on those learning styles, we've got different learners. Okay, look at here. We've got 3 different learners. The first one is deep learners. Deep learners are those kind of students that they are respond well in difficulties and complex subjects. They are gonna learn deeply. Okay, they are gonna engage deeply to the lesson. We call that deep learners. And of course, they have an intrinsic motivation. Now tell me, how many deep learners do we have here? Could you please raise your hand? Did you understand what is deep learners? It means that to love in order to see or in order to clarify every nuance of things. Am I making up? Look at here. In order to understand the difficult things. For example, I myself am a deep learner. Why? Because I'm crazy about difficult things. The person who studied Russia is a deep learner. Why? Because he's crazy about difficult things. Now, how many deep learners do we have? Don't you have any deep Okay, sorry, madam. Madam, is that true that you have an intrinsic motivation?
No, definitely.
Thank you very much. Am I?
Why not?
I think that why don't you have an intrinsic motivation as a deep learner?
You know, from the time that I remember, always there was something inside me that motivated me to go further and more, to learn something more and more. Okay? And I was old enough to, and now I'm old enough to have intrinsic motivation. But for young learners, definitely extrinsic motivation will affect.
Thank you very much. Of course, there is a problem in typing that. Here would be the surface learners, and here strategy or language learners. We are gonna talking about the strategy learners or language learners. Okay, it has a beautiful name. And strategy learners are those kind of learners that they are just studied because they are motivated by rewards. They often get good grades and they are often just try to study well, unless there is a clear reward for them. Okay, we call them strategy learners or language learners. Language learners are those kind of learners that they're just trying to have lots of information in their minds. I mean that, memorize almost everything, go and take an exam, after exam, goodbye. They forget almost everything. We call that language learners too. So, we've got that strategy learners or language learners, they have extrinsic motivation. Of course, rewards has an extrinsic motivation, okay? But you as a teacher, you can just shift it or change it to the intrinsic motivation. How? By just trying to make some engaging lessons in which let students to engage in the relevant subject. Okay, we call that, for example, you can just try to make some engaging lessons, and please guys, don't limit the output of your lesson to the memorization. Just try to ask for comprehension, because of course, without even a doubt, comprehension is much more better than memorization. Do you understand that? Yes? You are looking me in a way. Surface learners. Surface learners are those kind of learners that they are gonna study, okay? Because they are afraid of being failed. Okay, they are afraid of having the having the scare of they're afraid of failure, and because of that, they are gonna study well, and this is surface learners, but they won't engage deeply to the lessons. We call that surface learners, and they've got an extrinsic motivation. Let's go to the next slide. How to motivate the students? Guys, one question. How do you motivate your students? As a future teacher, how can you motivate your students? Based on the experience that you have that you were a student.
We use games somehow, inspirations.
That's good. Okay, and any answers? No? he's asleep.
I think for basic ones, it's better to motivate them, like for games at the end of the class. Then, as Antonio said, if you finish this part, you will have a game at the end of the class. It's really work on it. The basic ones because they love it, because for the kids. But for the younger one, we cannot say the framing or rewards. My problem is this: how we can motivate the oldest one, the higher levels.
Quick discussion. Yeah.
Not always, as like as me. I don't like discussion.
You're gonna understand. Okay? So, how to motivate the students? There are different ways to motivate your students. Okay, the first one is equally with praise and constructive criticism. Guys, just try to praise your students whenever they do something admirable. Whenever they do something good, just try to praise them. And whenever they make mistakes, okay, no matter. They are students, don't blame them, just try to teach them. Be careful that negative comments are for a performance, not for a performer. Don't ridicule your students because that is the worst thing that you can just do in order to shatter the confidence of the students. Did you understand? In order to, you have to just praise your student. The second step is use a variety of student teaching activities. Look at here, as you mentioned that, we have to just use some student active activities. These kind of activities can easily engage the students in the materials and let them some opportunities in order to be in a level of mastery, okay? For example, it can be discovery activities, in which let students to discover some mistakes and just try to solve them with by themselves, okay? Then in that time, they are going to be motivated easily. This is a source of motivation, guys. I mean, these discovery activities. Another one, for example, cooperative activities. You can just use some cooperative activities in which you, for example, put the students in a team of 3 or 4, so they're going to study with each other, they're going to learn lots of things with each other, and they're going to compete with each other. So they're going to be motivated too. The third one is become a role model for a student interest. Guys, look at here, whatever you are just trying to teach, like speaking, listening, writing, whatever you are just trying to teach, try to just teach that with a balanced energy and enthusiasm, okay? Leave almost all those kind of issues that you have outside of the classroom and then come to the English class, and then come to the classroom, okay? And be careful that you are the role model for students. Show your interest in the materials. Just try to love the relevant subject that you are going to teach for your students, because your own motivation will motivate the students, okay? And get to know your students. Of course, the most professional and the kindest teacher is a person who just try to recognize the concerns, the difficulties, the disabilities of the students, try to focus on them in order to solve them, okay? Then, try to get to know your students, try to understand what are their concerns, try to understand that what are their shortcomings, what are their weaknesses, and just try to focus on them in order to solve them with each other, okay? And guys, we've got different roles as teachers, okay? I'm not gonna explain it for you. You have for about 1 minute to just read it by yourself and keep it in your mind, because I'm gonna ask you lots of questions. So just read it carefully, okay? You've got for about 1 minute. Finish, guys. Finish.
Yes,
Okay, guys, have you finished? Yeah? Okay, let's go to the next slide. We are gonna just try to analyze it.
Sorry, because you're overpopulated, be as loud as possible. You need to really go there as loud as possible.
So let's go to the next slide. Next slide, importance of seating arrangement. Guys, one question. What are the importance of seating arrangement on classroom management? This means that, for example, by the help of the seating arrangement, how can you manage your class? Any answers? Sarah, could you please tell me? By the help of seating arrangement, how can you manage your class?
It's very loud. Now the level we can separate the student in a specific group or main group in order to have better management.
Thank you very much. Any answers? No? Okay. We've got different types of seating arrangement in our classrooms, okay? The first one is traditional. Of course, you've seen the traditional seating arrangement in a school, at the schools, in the colleges, in the universities, okay? This is traditional, consists of fixed routes. But guys, if you are just having classes with a behavioral problem, then in that time I don't suggest you to have a traditional seating arrangement because it is totally unuseful. The students can easily disengage, sorry. And you can just, and they have some opportunities in order to distract others, and they can easily text a message or many other things. Okay, but for the traditional seating arrangement, you can just use it, for example, for the presentations, or for giving lectures, for teaching grammar, or many other things, for taking a test. Okay. The second one it is about the horseshoe. Horseshoe is a kind of seating arrangement that we are just using in an institute. Okay, in most of the institutes and in all of the ESL classes, we've got horseshoe seating arrangement. The students are just sitting in a semicircle, okay? And there isn't a weighted amount of talking from the students. It just improves a student-to-student conversation, okay? And the students and the teacher can easily control them by just moving around the classroom and monitoring. We call that horseshoe. We can just use it for teaching in almost all kind of subjects. The third one, it is about a round table. Round table, the students are just trying to sit around the table, okay? It is good for discussions, for just trying to do some activities, some cooperative activities. It is really nice, and it can just promote the students' engagement. The fourth one, it is about the pair pots. Of course, all of us just try to use or try to put our students in a pair pots in order to have a pair board, okay? For example, for many role plays, for many conversations, we are just trying to make them we are just trying to put them in a pair board in order to just create each other. For example, for speaking, for listening, on many other things, you can easily use pair board. Why? Because, for example, we've got so many teachers, we've got so many students that they are just struggling with a lack of self-confidence. Then in that time, as soon as they are just trying to be in pairs, they are going to express their ideas to their friends, then they have some more self-confidence in order to express it to the whole class. Okay? And the last one, it is about the group pots. Group pots, for example, you can just try to put these students in a group pots in order to just try to have the cooperative learning. Okay? Useful for a large portion of class time when the students work together. Okay, for example, when you're just having the crowded class, then in that time you can have a group pots. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Another one. The another one is one way. Focus on face-to-face discussion. Look at here. In many classes, you can just use one-way seating arrangement. The students are just trying to face with each other, okay? Face each other, and they are gonna just try. It's gonna be good for discussion, for many games, or many other things. In our previous workshop, our supervisor, Mr. Padeja, just mentioned one activity. It is appropriate for one-way seating arrangement. Sir, would you please explain it to him?
Can you mention more? I cannot remember.
Agree, disagree?
Yeah. As I told you, if you just raise the question to fit controversial that we had today about among students, can you remember that? Say that women's right and men's right. And I just raised the question that who's guilty among the societies if you were fighting each other? So that's it. You want to mention that controversial topics just raise a very good conversation together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and the next one, it is about the stadium shape. Sometimes you can put the students in a stadium shape. Like a stadium, you're going to sit like a stadium, and it's going to be good for presentation or many other things. The another one, it is about a combination. Set up a part of a room as a horseshoe or rouse for students who need to focus on individual work, and a pair board who requires more activities. Look at here, sometimes you can just put, or you can just use 2 types of seating arrangement in one class, okay? Sometimes you can just try to put the students in a pair pods, in which they just need some more help and their peer can help them. And in the other hand, or on the other side of your classroom, you can just put the students in a horseshoe, that they are just want to work individually, okay? Rouse, good for watching movies or individual activities. And cluster seating, good for student-to-student interaction. If you just want to improve the skills of collaboration, problem solving, then in that time I refer you to have a cluster seating, because not only it's really great, and not only it cannot just distract the students, but also it doesn't have any high level of noise in your classroom. Okay, and Parasite movie language institute. Guys, look at here. This is our Gears branch, okay? It has 1, 2, 3, 4 classes. These 2 classes are big enough, which are suitable for almost all kind of seating arrangements. And look at here, guys. This is horseshoe seating arrangement, as I mentioned that, okay? It just improves student-to-student conversation. But, as I just said that, try to keep in your mind the teacher rules. Now tell me, in a horseshoe seating arrangement, what is the roles of the teacher? What is the role of the teacher? What do you think about it? Involver, informer, resource, monitor. Any suggestion? Informer. As you mentioned that it can be monitored. Look at here, you can easily monitor it, okay, by the assistance of these seating arrangements. But what are the possibilities of others? Because of this class is big enough, so you can just use wide variety of seating arrangements, okay, like traditional, semicircle, that means horseshoe, round table, pair pods, group pods, one-way, stadium shape, combination, round, and cluster seating. And the second class, it has a traditional seating arrangement, yeah? Look at here, the traditional seating arrangement, the role of the teacher can be a resource, or it can be a presenter or informer, just try to give information to the students. If the students just try to sit in a traditional seating arrangement, then in that time you are only the presenter. We can just teach grammar or many other things. But what are the possibilities? Again, because that this classroom is big, then in that time we can just use almost all of them. What about this one? This one, what is the name of the seating arrangement? What do you think? I explained. No. It is obvious, come on. Study. Round table. Thank you for listening. Okay, round table. This classroom is suitable or appropriate for round table seating arrangement. In a round table seating arrangement, the students are just sitting around the table. Then in that time, the teacher can easily participate into the students' activities. Okay. For example, if you are just having any discussion by the assistance of round table seating arrangement, then in that time you can easily involve and express your ideas about different kind of topics. So, what is the role of the teacher? Involver. Okay. And the fourth class of Gears branch. The fourth class, it is a little bit small, or I can constantly say that the smallest classroom in the Gears branch institute. Okay, you can just use pair pods. pair pods, and you can put these students in a pair pods seating arrangement. But what are the possibilities? One way, then rouse, traditional, and semicircle, it means horseshoe, and I think that traditional. So, finish. Let's go to the next slide. Any question? No? Did you understand the story of that?
Which one is better?
Actually, the best one, if you just want to know my idea, the best one it is about the horseshoe. Horseshoe would be the best one, but it depends on the activities. If you just want to do some specific activities, then in that time, maybe pair pods would be the best.
Yeah.
So, and this is the boys branch. As you can see, it has 6 classes. We are going to start from the smallest one. In the smallest one, look at here, we've got one-way seating arrangement. In one-way seating arrangement, we said that the students face with each other. So, but what are the possibilities? Pair pods, rounds, and traditional. Okay? But guys, what is the role of the teacher here? Imagine that it is a rouse, and they are going to have a discussion, and they are going to discuss with each other. Then what is the role of mine? Monitor. Monitor. Any other ideas? Yes. Monitor. And the second class that this is that class, okay, you can just use a combination. You can see here, guys, the half of the classroom are pair pods, and the another half are the horseshoe, okay? But what are the roles of the teacher? It has different roles, such as resource, you can just be a good resource, and you can be a great diagnostician. What do I mean with the diagnostician? It means that, for example, you are going to arrange a classroom in a pair pods, and then you're going to recognize the difficulties of it. Okay, for example, they have a difficulty, I'm going to just try to put them in a pair pods in order to help them. Okay, but the students who don't need any help, okay, just sit individually. Okay? The first class, it is about the group pods, and of course the possibilities of the previous class, it has almost all kind of sitting arrangements because again it is big. And the third one it is about the group pods. You can just put these students in a group of 4, okay? And it's going to be for many different, it's going to be good and useful for many different activities. But what are the roles of the teacher here? Involver, monitor, informer, presenter, resource, diagnostician, what vision? Manager, planner. Of course, in almost all of them, the teacher is planner. Okay, the teacher planner. It means that the teacher have to plan, or have to have a plan for her classroom or for his classroom. Whenever you are just going, wherever you are just going, I mean that each level that you are just going, don't just consider yourself as an experienced or I don't know as a professional teacher. Just try to have a plan for your classroom. Okay. Then, in almost all of them, you have the role of the planner. So we cannot just say that the planner, but it can be a monitor, and it can be an involver, of course, too. And the third one is about the diagnostician. Just whenever you are just trying to put the students into the groups, then in that time you can easily realize their difficulties, and you can just focus on it. The another one, it is about the routes. Routes, the possibilities. Another possibilities are runway, traditional, cluster seating, semicircle, pair pods, and spherical shape. These are all the possibilities that you can just try to arrange your classroom in that classroom, or that specific classroom, and that's it. But what about the routes? Look at here, guys. Maybe most of you will be confused at what are the differences between traditional and routes, okay? Because in the explanation of the routes, in the explanation of traditional, I mentioned that it is consists of fixed routes, okay? Look at here. In a route, there is a space for a teacher in order to monitor. Okay, there is a specific space for him in order to monitor him and go just between the classes. But in a traditional, there isn't any space for the teacher in order to go between the classroom and just monitor. Okay, this is the difference between them. Then the another one, it is about the cluster seating. Cluster seating. What are the possibilities? Traditional runway and round table, pair pods, group pods, and semicircle. But what about the cluster seating? Cluster seating, you can just try to gather the students in front of yourself, and then in that time they can easily work cooperatively. Okay? Then in that time we call that cluster seating. And the last one, it is about the stadium shape. Stadium shape, what are the possibilities? One way, group pods, routes, traditional, pair pods, and clusters. Look at here, in stadium shape. In a stadium shape, the students are just trying to sit in like a stadium, okay? Then that time it's gonna be good for presentation, for watching movies, or many different kind of activities. But what are the roles of the teacher? Monitor.
All of them.
All
Great
of them.
teachers are the mixture of all of them.
But sometimes in many activities you have to just delete something.
Yeah, not deleting, but you have to be aware of all of them. That in some cases, even those things or those situations that you're mentioning, you need one of them. It's a great teacher should have all of them, but sometimes manipulate them.
Thank you very much. That was the best answer. But for the stadium shape, you can just have a presenter too, or informer. You can just giving information to the students, and we can be a good resource. For example, the students, whenever they ask some questions, we have to, and we can be able to, and we are be able to answer. Yeah.
But there is a question. This is about diagnostication, yes. Here is two meaning. First meaning to understand the problems about grammatical problems and word meaning. The other is about their problem is related to the previous slide that you said about motivation. Yeah. You said that as a motivation, you should understand the problems of the students. But I'm, as a man, I cannot understand these girls' problem. They don't tell me. You get me?
Yeah, and I said,
It's really
and I
difficult.
mentioned the solutions of that.
What was that?
Using the power of proximity. You can ask him. It doesn't matter that you are the man and the student
Yeah,
is there.
you are right. But I asked them, but they don't tell me. They don't mention it.
You say that you.
Then in that time, we can just contact the parents for
Yeah,
the problems.
that's it.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Application. Look at here, guys. I'm gonna just try to introduce free single websites, okay, which is really useful and beneficial for teaching many different kind of skills. I mean that my friends we're gonna talking about the different methods about teaching, okay, but you can just try to take the advantages from these websites in order to just embellish, or I don't know, in order to beautify your activities, okay, those methods. Let us know. The first one, it is about wording out. Look at here, this is a website, okay? It's a level, all levels. You can just use for all levels. Then, 20 minutes, time requirement, it has 20 minutes. Language focus, vocabulary, and materials inherent. Look at here. Would you please play the videos here? Just playing? Okay, look at here. If you're just trying to search worditout.com on Google, then in that time you're gonna face this page, okay? Then transform your text into a word count. What's a word count? What are they for? And these are all the instructions. I mean, create your own or discover other examples. You have to click on create, okay? Then you can face this page. Then in that time, you are gonna face almost all kind of words that you are gonna teach your students, okay? For example, different kind of vocabularies, or I don't know, maybe some text, some stories that you are gonna teach your students. You can easily paste them, or you can easily type them. Then in that time, look at here, it just pastes different kind of words. That's. Then in that time, you can just try to click create. If you click that, create. And this is the word cloud. You can easily use that in different kind of activities, in different games, and it is really beautiful, and it just tries to provoke a student's interest in order to learn lots of vocabularies. But if you're just going to change the format of that, you can easily click on that, look at here, different format with different fonts. And that's it. This is a kind of website that you can easily use that in order to teach better and with creativity. The second one, application to mind mapping. Look at here. Mind mapping is a level, all levels. Type required.
Hello, and welcome to Visual Thesaurus.
Could you please stop? Okay, pause. Language focus, vocabulary, and materials internet. We are gonna watch the video that what is this website. Thank you very much.
You are looking at our homepage, the front page of our online magazine. Here you will find articles on words, word origins, book reviews, interviews, and more. Sign up for the Word of the Day, delivered to your email inbox, and visit the educators page often. To keep up with our growing collection of educational content, including lesson plans, worksheets, vocabulary building activities, and instructional videos. Let's get started by looking up a word. Here's a typical word map for the word home. The word we looked up is in the center of the map, connected to circles that represent its definition.
Some item prepositions, some phrasal verbs about that home. And if you just click on that specific word, again it has a different synonyms and different phrasal verbs that you can just use and teach. Did you understand that? You can easily use that for teaching so many different characters. Okay? For example, if you just want to teach home about the subject of home, okay, your topic it is about the home, then in that time you can easily use the home. You can easily use the mind mapping website. But it isn't just about the phrasal verbs. If you are just clicking on the word, then in that time you can easily see the pictures and many videos, many related videos. Okay. So let's go to the third one. This is a favorite website of mine that I always just use that. Playphrase.me. I always use that as an entry routine. Okay. For example, whenever I just enter to my classroom, I just try to have a teaching PDF. Okay. And I use that website, playphrase.me. Look at here. It is all levels. It is appropriate for all levels. 10 minutes, vocabulary, movies, expressions, and internet. Whenever you just want to search about something, okay, for example, I'm going to teach idiom or expression. Then in that time, I'm going to bring some related movies that you are just use that expression in it. Look at here, look at the video. May I ask you, if I just want
not
to...
at all.
Not at all?
Actually, not at all. Okay, not at all. Not at all.
You just read that
You are not how I remember you from class. I mean, like, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And in that time, the students can easily keep it in their mind. Okay?
Well, sometimes not at all.
I'm not a call the person you and I took before.
Thank you, sir.
Not at all. Not at all.
And do you know the surprise of my workshop? Look at here. This is our new institute, the Voice Range, with new decoration, with new facilities.
Next year.
Okay.
He didn't want to spoil it.
Okay. Then in that time, we have 6 classes again, and we are here. But we are going to have a new decoration with new facilities. It means that in each class, you are going to have one digital board, okay? Then in that time, we just try to write different kind of expressions or different kind of responsibilities that the students have about their relevant level that they have. For example, if this is their class, instead of some posters that are just sticking on a wall that it is really old-fashioned, then in that time, they are just trying to modernize the methods and they are just trying to put some digital boards. Okay, then in that time, we can easily show some posters or many different kind of things which related to the relevant level.
Of course, you spoiled it. Yeah? You should have the counters like that. You shouldn't have it.
You shouldn't have? Okay, imagine that we will have. Okay, and this is secretary, and this is 6 classes, and this is and this is their French. Unfortunately, we don't have any change, but maybe we are going to change the place, and that's better. And that is the Gears Bridge, and it's all. Okay. And at the end, look at here, guys. A bad teacher always just tries to tell something. A good teacher explains. A superior teacher demonstrates something. But a great teacher tries to inspire. All these kind of things that I mentioned, and all those kind of things that my friends were gonna mention, are elements, are the parts of the inspiration. Try to inspire your students, and I promise those students will flourish, will seek that power inside of themselves and make every moment work. Because maybe you yourself, you cannot just realize how powerful, how precious your words are as a teacher. But I myself, as an avid learner who has been studying English more than 9 years, I can constantly say that if many teachers didn't motivate me, didn't inspire me, I wouldn't continue English. I wouldn't teach English. I wouldn't speak English, and I wouldn't present a workshop in English, and I wouldn't be the one that I am today. Thank you very much for your listening. I hope you enjoyed.